Ruh-roh. Now I've done it. I went out over to Reddit last night. Man, they're a feisty bunch. There's a lot of popular opinion happening. And, you know, I think that's sort of a human nature thing, right? Like, if you really believe something, regardless of the science, regardless of the data, regardless of statistics, then it's impossible to really have a sentient conversation about the data, about what's been documented, double-blind, placebo-controlled, third-party, non-invested studies. Because if you ascribe to a certain way, and in this case I'm talking about using rifaximin, Xifaxan, erythromycin, metronidazole, ciprofloxacin, neomycin as repetitive treatments to treat a gastrointestinal Sibo IBS problem, and to treat them, use them over and over again, because that's sort of the doctrine, not the studied doctrine, which is why it's not even accepted into the conventional medicine circles, although it's sneaking in there a little bit. But interesting, I think more so interesting from the point of view of human nature. I guess, you know, from the perspective of the doctors who ascribe to this as a reasonable theory, you know, I'm sure that ultimately at the bottom line, they want to help. And this is what they've seen help people occasionally, definitely not 100% of the time, but, you know, occasionally. And, you know, they'll give them lots of different supplements to go through, like protocols for weeks and weeks and weeks. You take this and you take that without food, and you do some NAC and you do some ginger, and make sure you take this with food, and make sure you don't take that with food. And you do that for 8 weeks, and then you move on to something else. And so I guess it can keep people really busy and hopeful. And I'm sure sometimes it can have an impact, right? Like if you're dealing with an overgrowth of something and it happens to be eradicated or able to be eradicated by oregano oil or allium, any of those nutraceuticals, then that's great. What am I getting at here? Ugh. I think really the bottom line for me is using these prescription medications as part of these protocols because it's being taught by one single doctor. And then other people are so desperate, the doctors and the patients, looking for answers, that they go ahead with this and use this, even though there's no studies that are third-party, independent studies. There's studies by the company that makes Xifaxan. There's studies by the doctor that promotes Xifaxan. But I'm talking about something that's non-biased. Anyways, interesting. Remind me not to go back there. And if any of you are on Reddit in the, you know, Sibo archives, you can find the conversation. It's interesting. Okay, I did get a little bit unfriendly. But what I was noticing about the conversation was that my questions were never answered. It was kind of like this backdoor thing, you know. Okay. Note to self. Not a good platform. I'm going to stick with Insta, TikTok, YouTube. All right. Thanks for listening.